Hey everybody, welcome to the SongBike Guitar Q&A live stream, June 15th, 2024. Is this number 52? I think so. It just might be number 52. Thanks for being here, everybody. My name is Jonathan. I'm here for your guitar questions. And if and when you have some guitar questions, please put it in the chat with some question marks in advance. 4, 5, 6 question marks, that gets my attention. In between your questions tonight, I have a lot to talk to you about. You ready? Of course you are. Some things that I want to share with you and discuss. Where to begin? A lot of guitar podcasts have been recommended to me. So I want to share with you some of the guitar podcasts that have been recommended to me and see what you think. Oh, someone asked me for help deciphering ultimateguitar.com. How do you make sense out of that information, how it's presented to you? So I'm happy to talk about that a little bit. I have some student quotes of the week. I actually have 3 student quotes of the week that I want to share with you. Each one I found illuminating and fun and helpful. I want to talk to you about the best musician I ever met. I want to talk to you about the news of the week. What's going on in St. Louis with this restaurant in St. Louis, which started a very interesting policy that seems to be a very musician-friendly policy. I want to share with you that news of the week. I also have a throwback news story of the week that involves a guitar player who single-handedly drove down the stock price of an airline. Here's what you missed in small town Connecticut. Graduation. We just had high school graduation, and I don't know how they do it where you live, but a few years ago during the pandemic, when they weren't having big public get-togethers like high school graduations, they set up a thing where the kids could drive through town and everyone in town could clap and wave and wish them well and say congratulations for finishing up high school. So that's what you missed a couple of nights ago. That's what happened here. Kids paraded through town in their cars, and the fire trucks pull out in front of the firehouse and blast their horns. Small town, man. Small town. Good times. I also want to share with you the weirdest alternative guitar. Something I found recently that I found online. I didn't buy it, but we talk about things like travel guitars. What can you take with you on a trip? Or maybe if you have aches and pains and it just doesn't feel good to play the guitar, maybe adapting to a different stringed instrument. I got a weird one for you. What else? Of course, we have our play along song of the week. I'm excited about that one. Some of the coolest guitar players on YouTube. I already put links to them in the chat of this week's video, but I can't wait to share some of these folks with you. The theme for this week's cool guitar players on YouTube, I chose a bunch of people that I think you guys have probably heard of before, because in my mind, they're super famous, but maybe you don't know these folks, in which case I get to be the one to turn you on to some of them, which is awesome. We have a book of the week. We have the best advice my mom ever gave me. What? Are you watching, Mom? Hey, Mom. And to be more clearer, advice my mom gave me as a little kid that 100% made me the teacher that I am today. Stay tuned. I can't wait to share that with you. I want to talk about Tom T. Hall. Who? You know Tom T. Hall. Sure you do. That's How I Got to Memphis. You guys know that song? That's How I Got to Memphis. Tom T. Hall wrote a lot of songs. Old Dogs, Children, and Watermelon Wine, one of his big famous songs. I saw a video of him playing recently, and I did a double take. I said, what? And so I watched a second video. I double taked again. I double took. So a lot to share with you guys today. I'm going to say a few hellos. Thunder Ace was here right out of the gate. Hello, Thunder Ace. Scott Rhodes is back from a week running a writing conference. Randy Downing is here. Zoologia Zombie, missed you last week. Zoologia Zombie, checking in from Poland. Thank you for being here. Christian from Denmark, thank you for being here. Jose from Brazil. All right, Jose. So we have Poland, Denmark, and Brazil in the house, and that is awesome. We have William Collier from Texas, Rock Lobster from Maine. All right, we're getting the globe represented here. Hey, everybody, thank you for being here tonight. So let's get right to it. Where should we even start? How about if we start off, I don't know, let's talk about the best advice my mom ever gave me, which directly relates to what you and I are doing right here. You might think, Jonathan's mom has an impact on this live stream? And the answer is yes, for sure. So here is what I'm talking about. When I was about your age, when I was a young boy, we had pets and we'd play with our pets. We had some beautiful cats and we'd have cat toys, right? And of course, being a little boy, I would, have fun with the cats and the cat toys. My mom said, don't forget, let them win sometime. Sometimes you have to let the pet grab the toy mouse, right? You gotta let them win. Sure, you have the capability of not letting them win, but then we all lose, right? So what does that mean? Well, fast forward 20 years, give or take, 15 something years, I don't know. And I'm teaching. And you know what is going through my mind? Gotta let the student win. Okay, gotta create material, create opportunities where the student can succeed. It's not about me, folks. I know the camera's pointed in my direction at the moment. It's not about me, right? Gotta let the student succeed, gotta show them how to succeed, have to create opportunities or point them in directions where they're gonna find success, right? You got to let them win. You can't be that guitar teacher who plays and lets you watch them play. That's not how it works, So I found myself returning to that advice, at the heart of what I do, right? How can the student find success? If the student finds success, aren't I also finding success? Yes, for sure. So there you go. Got to let them win sometime, whether it's a pet, playing with a toy, or, human interactions, right? Sometimes you have to, it's about communication. It's about, finding that ray of sunshine, finding something that, you can celebrate, and we all have different goals. Speaking of communication, recently in the middle of a lesson, one of my students, young girl, said to me, what's your favorite color? And I really, I have my own agenda, right? I'm not thinking about having a conversation. I'm thinking she's wasting valuable time, right? Heaven forbid anybody waste any time. So I say, well, yellow is my favorite color. I got a yellow house and I have a yellow custom guitar on order. Yellow is my favorite color. And I focus, on the material at hand, right? I direct her attention back to the music stand. She says to me, aren't you going to ask what my favorite color is? Yes. And at that moment, I realized that she probably had more social skills than I do, because of course, that's how you follow up that question, right? That's an adult conversation. I said, I'm so sorry. What is your favorite color? And that's part of the joy of teaching people under 10 years old. Anyway, so that's the best advice my mom ever gave me, at least in terms of becoming, I think, a better and better teacher the more I do this thing. There you go. So Beginner Guitar Lessons is our moderator. Hello, Beginner Guitar Lessons. Thank you for being here. Kathy from Columbus, Georgia, checking in. Father's Day is tomorrow here in the United States, so happy Father's Day to all the dads out there. I hope you get time in your life tomorrow to do all the things you want to do, or at least a few of the things you want to do, including maybe a little chance to play the guitar. I hope that's part of your Father's Day tomorrow. Chris is asking a question, but Chris, you didn't put question marks in advance of your question, so I'm going to try to dodge it, but no, it's a good question. Chris is asking, when is the chord melody book coming out? Yeah, I got to get back to it. As you know, putting together a book that is mostly done of chord melody arrangements of famous tunes, and including some tunes that you requested. And there's 2 parts of the book: the actual arrangements, and then a video of me playing each one of the tunes. And it's coming. Yep, I got to find that 8th day of the week. But thank you, Chris, for your question, and you guys will be the first to know. Actually, if you follow me on social media like Instagram or Facebook, then you'll be the first to know for sure. On Instagram, you can find me at songbike.guitarlessons, SONGBIKE.guitarlessons. That's on Instagram, songbike.guitarlessons. And on Facebook, you can find me at my songbike, all one word, MYSONGBIKE. BIKE. There you go. My Songbike on Facebook. Chris, you don't like yellow. I just told you I live in a yellow house, and I ordered a custom guitar in yellow. So I'm speechless. Charlie Beagle, hello. Thanks for being here. Live to Fly, thank you for being here too. Okay. Let's get right into the book of the week, you guys. I have showed you this book before, but I was using it with a student just recently, and I was reminded on how much this book helped me as a player, and I use it all the time as a teacher. Some of you are like, oh, that's the book he holds up every once in a while. Any book by Dave Rubin is a very cool book. And this particular one, Art of the Shuffle, blues rhythm guitar, is one simple way to describe what's in this book. And the interesting thing is he devotes a bunch of the early pages to history and photographs, which I love, and still manages to find dozens of pages of very cool blues rhythm guitar, stuff that sounds great on acoustic or electric. As soon as I started learning out of this book, I started applying this to my own performing. Meaning I realized, I'm going to take that blues song and I'm going to apply page 14 or whatever to those blues lyrics, that melody, and come up with my own version. And I did that multiple times. Love this book so much. And of course, for those of you who are a little bit scared of reading music, it's all in tab, and it comes with audio examples so you can hear how it's supposed to sound. Categories including, I love my geography. So here we've got West Coast blues, New Orleans blues, Texas blues, Kansas City blues, and one chapter called Delta Country and Chicago blues. So yeah, Art of the Shuffle by Dave Rubin, R-U-B-I-N. I hesitate to put a link to Amazon to get this book for one reason. Every time I try to do that, the Amazon link ends up being like 9 lines of text. And I don't know if there's an alternative, but I'm not going to put that in the description of the video because it just takes up too much space. But I am I'll put the name in the video, and I'm putting the name in the chat right now. Art of the Shuffle by Dave Rubin. And tell you what, really anything by Dave Rubin is cool. Secondarily, you know what you can do with this book? I will tell you. It's very clear what key all the examples are in. You can use the audio files for the book to practice your lead guitar, right? If the example is in the key of C, blues rhythm guitar in the key of C, find your C blues scale, your C minor pentatonic scale, and there you go. Now you've got a great play along for free, You don't even have to be on YouTube, right? YouTube has all those play along tracks, but you don't need them because you got great play along tracks right in this book. Love it. When I got it, it came with a CD, and now I'm pretty confident it's audio files that you can listen to through the How Limited website. Recommend that very highly. There's your book of the week, Art of the Shuffle. And where we go, there we go. All right. Zoologia Zombie is asking a great question. Zoologia Zombie says, lately I went on a musician biopic binge watch. I saw Walk the Line, the Ray Charles movie, and a few others. Do you recommend any movies or guitar documentaries that you enjoy? Yeah. Of course, let's see. Where to begin? In terms of, here's an interesting twist. The Last Waltz by the band, right? Great, considered one of the best concert movies. It's my understanding that Robbie Robertson overdubbed some of his guitar parts in the studio afterwards. And then, that's what we're actually hearing in the movie. So I recommend the movie, period. But also it's kind of interesting to watch his hands and see if you can figure out where, he's playing one thing on screen, but we're hearing something different. That's kind of a fun thing. But it's a great movie. I'm a big fan of the band anyways. That the Beatles Get Back documentary from a few years ago, all that behind the scenes stuff. I love that so much. The one that was put together by Peter Jackson. Yeah, I love that. Get Back, right? That was the name of it, Get Back. Yeah. Let's see. A while back, we talked about that Sean Penn movie where Sean Penn, Sweet and Lowdown, where Sean Penn plays a guitar player in the movie. And I'm not confident we're hearing Sean Penn play, but watching his hands move, it's clear the guy knows how to play the guitar a little bit. That's kind of fun. Let's see. I'll give it some more thought, Zoologia Zombie, because, this Spinal Tap. Spinal Tap, as many of you know, is a mockumentary, as they say. And here's a little known secret about Spinal Tap. Those of us who have been in the music world for a certain amount of time, the longer your career is, the more Spinal Tap reflects your reality. It's still funny, but it's funny because you remember when that same thing happened to you. So I love Spinal Tap, but I laugh in a different way when I see Spinal Tap. Of course, School of Rock with Jack Black. You gotta love School of Rock. I've seen School of Rock way too many times, and never fails to get a laugh. Scott Rhodes is recommending the Rolling Thunder Review, the Bob Dylan movie documentary, and that takes some liberties with the truth and facts as well, but it's still fun to watch. So those of you who are taking part in the chat right now, maybe you can suggest some things. Oh, like Randy just did, It Might Get Loud. Yeah, It Might Get Loud is that documentary with Jimmy Page from Led Zeppelin, Jack Black, famous for the White Stripes in his own solo career, and The Edge from U2. And yeah, that's a good one, Randy. I would have thought of that one as I was falling asleep tonight. One of my takeaways from It Might Get Loud was how Jimmy Page is kind of in a class by himself. And to my memory, there were a few scenes where the other guys were sort of looking at Jimmy Page while he did his thing. And he's just in a class by himself. And those other guys are perfectly competent artists doing their thing. And that's what we all should be doing. But it just seems Jimmy Page kind of stood out in that movie, to say the least. Paul from the UK. Hello, Paul. Thanks for being here. I'm sure I'm forgetting a million. I'm sure you guys have your favorites. So feel free to put your favorite music, movies / documentaries in the chat, because I'm sure you guys have a bunch as well. YouTube has so much available in terms of just watching any guitar player, a 5-minute video of them playing live. It's, I feel like that's almost where my head is at. There's that Stevie Ray Vaughan concert video from Toronto, the Elmo Combo Club, where Stevie Ray Vaughan played a live concert thing. And that's great. It's easy to imagine anything Stevie Ray Vaughan does is great, but that's great as well. Marianne, hello, Marianne. Marianne is recommending the Rolling Stones movie, Shine a Light. Yeah, a lot of good ones. Paul Russell is recommending Crossroads. Now, is that the one with Ralph Macchio, that Crossroads movie? Oh, here's a little trivia for you. Who did the actual guitar playing? There's the guy who's like the devil. And then there's the guitar player who played, I think, presumably what we're seeing Ralph Macchio played. Who knows who those two guitar players were in Crossroads with Ralph Macchio? I never actually saw the whole movie. I've seen bits and pieces. But maybe some of you know who those guitar players were. Little clue, one of them is one of my favorite all-time guitar players. So yeah. Yeah, there you go. Omar knows. Omar knows Live to Fly knows it as well. And Randy knows Steve Vai was the other one. Yeah, so Steve Vai, my understanding is that Steve Vai played the devil, right? And Ry Cooder's part was performed by Ry Cooder. Hey, don't forget Ry Cooder's son, Joaquin Cooder, is awesome. Very creative, musical, talented human being. And I gave him a plug a few weeks ago. But definitely check out Joaquin Cooder, and you won't regret it, not at all. Hey, Charlie Beagle, is that really a real thing, Charlie Beagle? Cracking the egg? Never heard that. Cracking the egg, you know. Okay, a while back, last week, the week before, we talked about tuning forks. And I didn't have it handy, and I now have my tuning fork handy. So I thought I'd take a minute here and show you something with the tuning fork that I couldn't show you without the tuning fork. And also in the link, in the description of today's live stream, I'm going to put a link to some of the history and physics behind the humble tuning fork, invented by John Shore. Let's give him a shout out. John Shore in the year 1711. I believe he was a trumpet player. 1711. So this is technology that goes back a bit, right? Someone asked, and I want to say it was Pooba John. Pooba John, are you out there? Asked about using a tuning fork to tune. And I have a tuning fork. That's the note E. There's an E engraved on here. And also engraved on here is the frequency, which of this particular octave of the E, which is 320 something. I can't read it. So how do you use a tuning fork when you tune the guitar? Check it out. First thing, you bang it against your knee bone. Don't bang it against something hard that's going to damage it. Your knee bone is hard enough. I'm going to hold up to the microphone. I don't know if you guys can hear that. Hope you can. Okay, now here's how we can all hear it for sure. After I bang it on my knee bone, I'm going to hold the butt end there, that silver butt end, right against the wooden bridge of my acoustic guitar, and wait till you see what happens. The results just might surprise you. Okay, there's the bang. Hear that? Isn't that cool? I'm going to make it a little bit louder. Okay, come on now. Vibrations, right? The vibrations from the tuning fork are passing into the wood of the guitar, right? And being amplified. Now, if my guitar is in tune, that should be the exact note, my treble E string, right? Once you have your treble E string tuned, you could use it for your bass E string. You have to adjust, right? Because the bass E string is 2 octaves lower than this. If that freaks you out, you could always play the octave note, 12th fret on the E string, play it as a harmonic. You guys know about harmonics? I know I touched on them briefly when this question came up. I'm touching my fat 6th string very lightly right above the 12th fret. And I always feel it's important to remind you to pluck pretty hard, whether you're plucking with your thumb or a finger or a pick. Nice and firmly. You know you're getting a harmonic when you can take your finger away and it's still ringing. Okay, so that harmonic note, 6th string, 12th fret, it may be easier for your ear to hear the note from the tuning fork and compare it to that harmonic of the 12th fret. Once you have at least one string in tune with the tuning fork, ideally both strings in tune, then you can do what I think everyone calls internal tuning. I call it internal tuning, where, say the 2nd string, the B string at the 5th fret should sound exactly like the E string that you just tuned, right? So the 5th fret tuning method, the 5th fret on any one string should sound like the next skinny string open, with one exception: G string, 3rd string, 4th fret. Okay, 3rd skinny string, 4th fret is what you use as your reference point for the 2nd B string, Okay, so internal tuning using a tuning fork, 300-year-old technology, give or take, 300 plus. Hey, Pooba John. A to Z, me. Hello. So there's my follow-up to a tuning fork. I want to show you guys, should you invest in a tuning fork, make sure you get the note E. Hey, could you get 5 different tuning forks, one for each of the strings, and then just double up, you do both E's with this one? I suppose you could, right? Get 5 tuning forks. Keep in mind that they may be an octave higher than the guitar string. So, your open 5th string, the A string there, depending on the A tuning fork you might buy, it might be, an octave or 2 octaves higher than that note. So you still have to, adjust for that with your ear, but no big deal. Or, hey, you know what? Everything's for sale on Amazon. For all I know, you can get a set of 6 tuning forks, and each one is tuned exactly, it's the exact frequency of each string, and Amazon could probably have it for you before the end of tonight's live stream, for all I know. Tonight's live stream, by the way, is brought to you by Fox in Park Grape Soda. That's right. A little taste of Connecticut. Fox in Park, based in East Haven, Connecticut. Foxon, Foxonpark. Next time you're in Connecticut, give yourself a little taste of New England with Foxon Park. Works for me. Grape soda. When is the last time I had grape soda? Been a few decades, I bet. Very good. Don't forget, I'm here for your questions, so keep them coming in. In the meantime, let's get right to the student quotes of the week. Why not, right? It's funny, now that I'm doing these live streams with you guys, and it's been about a year, I keep my ears open because students say the craziest things. And, I taught for 30 plus years without writing down things my students said. But now I'm paying much more attention where I'm documenting what they say. So two things came to mind this week that students said that I thought, you know what, I like how they put that. Number one, a student said, kind of was lamenting, said, my brain just works faster than my fingers. Yep, that sums it up right there. In fact, that's not the worst position to be in, where your brain gets it. And if your brain knows your pinky has to jump up 2 frets, so your brain knows B minor is the next chord. Your brain gets it very well, and you're just not yet. You're not able to do that physical task. Yeah, to me, that's just called learning the guitar, and that's what we all signed up for. But that's a reality, right? Your brain is faster than your fingers. Your brain's like, okay, B minor, and your fingers start making this slow march across the strings. Yep. Second student quote of the week, and this one made my day. Someone commented on one of my YouTube videos recently and said, fantastic lesson. I can't wait to get off work to try this. Thanks a lot, man. That right there, that is why I do what I do. That I love it. Just to hear that. I can't wait to get off work to try this. I don't even remember what the video was. Doesn't matter. Could have been anything, a song, a blues riff, whatever. That, to me, that's what I wish for anyone who, listens to any of the crazy stuff I say, that somehow between the two of us, we find something that gets you so pumped up. You're like, as soon as I can get my guitar in my hands, I'm going to work at that thing. That made my day. Love it so much. Can't wait to get off work to try this. Yep. So if I've ever motivated any of you that way, that makes me so happy. I figure my teaching is pretty inclusive, and part of that is because I don't know what a student is going to get inspired by necessarily. And so I figure it's good to have a whole bunch of things handy. Sometimes a student will tell me very clearly, I want to learn such and such a song, and that's great. But sometimes on the way to matching that song, there are going to be some stepping stones. And my hope is that even those stepping stones become something that's challenging but satisfying, and something that once you see someone do it, or once you hear it, or you wrap your brain around it or something, you think, I can't wait to get off work and try this. Anyway, so that's the second student quote of the night. So I want to share those with you. Okay, let's talk about the news of the week. And I'm going to put this link in the chat. But of course, I always like putting in the description of the video as well. Let's see if they can fit this whole thing in the chat. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. There we go. Okay, so what is going on in St. Louis? Okay, got a question for you guys. What do you think of the following? There's a restaurant in St. Louis that says you can't come in our restaurant unless you're 30 years old or older. They want to create an environment. They have created an environment. Apparently, it's very successful, where the emphasis is on good music, good dancing, good vibes, and they're being very specific about who can come into the restaurant. The link I posted in the chat here is from Food and Wine magazine. Now there's more details, but some of the things that the reason I'm bringing it up with you guys is it would appear to be a very pro musician, pro dancing policy, or at least that's where they're coming from. It's a Caribbean restaurant with live music and a big emphasis on dancing and appreciating what the musicians are doing. That sounds good, right? It cannot be legal. For those of you who live outside the U.S., I pretty much, I don't know. You can't do that. You can't say you can't come in a restaurant because you're 29 years old. You can't do stuff like that. But it's interesting where they're coming from, and apparently they're successful. Now there's more to the story. They say the policy is women have to be 30 or over, men have to be 35 or over. Now that sounds pretty weird. I don't know. I know where that's a whole nother, the gender thing is a whole nother discussion. But I don't know. What do you think of that? I'm guessing that a lot of us would be old enough to get into that restaurant. What do you think? Would you would that attract you to that restaurant? Would that appeal to you? You say, hey, the little rugrats running around, people just kicking back, enjoying great music, dancing, good vibes, or would you say, come on, man, that's crazy, that's you can't do stuff like that. Are they insane? I don't know. So I'm interested in your feedback. And again, I put the link to the story in the chat, and I'll put it in the description. The New York Times ran a story about it, but the New York Times Often the articles are behind a paywall. So I went with an article from Food and Wine magazine that anyone can read. A to Z Me says it's a slippery slope. But if it's music heavy, I'm all for it. Yeah, that's one thing we all hate, certainly in American culture. We hate those slippery slopes. We have a phobia, slippery slope phobia. You know, so how many times have you heard someone say, slippery slope? Cooper John says, sounds kind of cool. You know, I don't know. See what you think. But I'm curious about your opinions. Beginning guitar lessons says, hey, if it's your business, you can decide who you want to serve and not serve. Yeah, I don't know. Interesting. Classic music. Thank you for being here. Mike G says it's a great idea. They don't want rowdiness. So who knows? I am curious about your feedback. And because the story, at least I heard a national public radio news story about it. That's how it first came to my attention. And, at face value, the restaurant specifically identified the live music and the dancing as what they want to promote with this policy. So that's why it got my attention. Just some random restaurant who doesn't want any kids in the restaurant. That's not worthy of our conversation, right? Oh well, go figure. Okay, now our throwback news story of the week. Who remembers, going back about 15 years, who remembers United Breaks Guitars? Anybody remember that? United Breaks Guitars? I feel like this was quite a bit. I mean, maybe it's, I don't know, my 2009. It sounds like this happened well before 2009. Anyways, the bottom line is United broke a guitar player's guitar and they wouldn't take responsibility. United Airlines, by the way, and they wouldn't take responsibility for it. So he wrote a song. But in this day and age, you don't just write a song, you make an entertaining video and you post that. So did I write down his name? Maybe I didn't write down his name. David, what was his name? Okay, it's in the link that I posted. And the video went viral. And United stock went way down. Randy, you remember that? Yeah, the song was called United Breaks Guitars. I just put the link, the YouTube link in the chat. I'll put it in the description as well. One guitar player single-handedly had a huge effect on the stock price of a major corporation. Free speech, it's a free country. And in the song, in the lyrics, he goes into a lot, some detail about, he didn't just say, hey, you broke my guitar. I mean, he did what you're supposed to do. He went through the channels and asked the right people the right questions and explained, everything. Anyways, so I believe it turned into a book. I believe if I Googled the gentleman, and I think you can hire him to be a public speaker at your events. Very interesting. So United Breaks Guitars. I worked in a guitar shop and for many years, and a guy brought in a guitar that was damaged by an airline. For the airline to do what they did to his guitar, they would have had to take it out of its case, drive a stake through the guitar, basically. They did something horrible right through the guitar, and then put it back in the case. The case was fine, but the guitar had clearly been damaged in a way that wasn't just from, getting shaken or something. We looked at that guitar in disbelief. They took it out of its case. What did he do to them? Unbelievable. So, go figure. The video is great and the song is great. It looks like, we're videos and memes and all that stuff has come so far in the last 15 years. the video looks a little bit dated, a little bit. But hey, it tells a story, and he specifically identifies that it was a Taylor guitar that they broke. So I wouldn't be surprised. Maybe some of you could do a follow-up here. I wouldn't be surprised if Taylor got him a new guitar, because Taylor's a very savvy, smart company, and I wouldn't be surprised if they found a way to get him a new guitar. Music fan, hello, music fan. Music fan points out that a younger version of Jonathan would have been, really bummed that I couldn't go to the Caribbean restaurant and see Caribbean musicians because I was under 30. Yeah, that's a good point. I feel one way about it now, but when I felt the same way back when, well, I don't know. Actually, I don't know how I feel about it now, for that reason, because I would have been that guy like, are you serious? I definitely made the rounds in my younger years of different great musicians who were playing, wherever I lived, but especially in the Chicago area, and seeing whoever I could, whenever I could, especially if they were, a legendary musician playing like on a Monday night with no cover charge. Like, are you kidding me? We'll save that story for another time. But holy cow! Especially if you're around a city, right? And cities attract musicians, and there are a lot of opportunities, especially in the bigger cities, right, to see some extremely talented people who have a standing gig on an off night, like a Monday night, or a Sunday afternoon or something. And oh man, good times. Okay, don't forget, I'm actually here for your questions, and I'm checking the clock here. Before long, we will get to our play along song of the night. But before we run out of time, not that we're anywhere close to running out of time, I gotta. This ties in to what I was just talking about. The best musician I ever met. Now, I know that's kind of a clickbait kind of statement. I know. That's the world we live in. The best musician I ever met. Copy, paste. There you go. Who is Howard Levy? Anybody know the name Howard Levy out there? Now, I'm fortunate enough to have met some super talented people, most of whom are not household names. In fact, I don't know if I've ever met anyone who's a household name. Not really. I got B.B. King's autograph. I got Buddy Rich's autograph. But in terms of, actually having a conversation with someone, but man, I've met some extremely talented musicians. One, though, who stands out, and at the moment, I'm going to label him the best musician I ever met, Howard Levy. And I'm going to tell you more about Howard Levy. Does anyone know who Howard Levy is? Is his name ringing bells? Especially if you maybe read the liner notes and the credits and stuff. Who is Howard Levy? To my knowledge, he doesn't play the guitar, but you know what? I don't want to, for all I know, he's a great guitar player. Howard Levy lived not too far from the guitar shop I used to work at outside Chicago, and every once in a while he'd stop in, and he'd always have something on his mind, man. And I was in my 20s, and I was just trying to keep up with whatever was on Howard Levy's mind. Anybody know Howard Levy? Okay, how about Bella Fleck? Bella Fleck, the banjo player, Bella Fleck and the Flecktones. Howard Levy was one of the original Flecktones. So there you go. If you're playing, if you're on the Bella Fleck gig, you're at a certain level, right? So the video I posted about Howard Levy is actually a very cool backstage interview where he's chatting with a band. I'll tell you more about the band when we get into our cool guitar players on YouTube discussion. And it's him essentially hipping the band to what he can do. It's not his band, it's a band, and it's backstage. So Howard Levy plays the harmonica and he plays the piano. He plays them both at the same time when he's in the mood. That's a very cool thing. He reinvented the harmonica. Raise your hand if you have a harmonica. Yeah, a few of you. Okay, raise your hand. Okay. Now, as you know, harmonicas come in a key, right? Key of C, key of G, right? And you're limited, obviously, that's by definition. If it's the key of G, you have notes in the key of G, and that's it, right? If you're lucky, you can bend a note a little bit, right? Sound a little bit bluesy. Howard Levy gets all the notes out of a harmonica, any harmonica. It does not have to be a chromatic harmonica. He gets all the notes because he can. So in the video I posted, he talks about visualizing a piano keyboard, you know, C, C sharp, D, D sharp, and bending every note that is built into the harmonica, but bending those notes to get the other notes. So he can play all 12 notes, every note on any harmonica. And he does it, you know. There was he has an instructional, well, way back when, it's an instructional video cassette where doctors did like an image. What would that be, an MRI? They did an image of his, you know, head and neck. So you could see physically what he's doing to get these notes out of the harmonica. And I saw him on a gig. There's an example of like, wow, there's a trumpet player, Claudio Roditi, would that be his name, from Brazil? So Claudio Roditi, why do I remember that name? I have no idea. Famous trumpet player. He was in Chicago for a gig, and the word was that Howard Levy was going to be playing piano. And so I go to see Howard Levy do his thing, and there he is. At a certain moment during the gig, he, if I remember right, he's soloing on the harmonica, but it continues to comp, to play the chords and everything with his other hand. You know, oh, it makes me sweat to think of that, you know. I knew a guy who took some lessons from Howard Levy, and it was very interesting to hear him talk about his experience with Howard Levy. You know, he got his homework, and he worked so hard and showed up for his next lesson. He could do his, I guess it was a piano thing. He could do the piano homework. And Howard Levy said, yeah, man. And so now do this. And I don't know if it was play it in all 12 keys or do something like that. But the follow-up just blew this young guy's mind. Like, no, it took me so long just to do what he thought his homework was. Little did he know that it was just scratching the surface. And for that reason, Howard Levy stands out in my mind as the best musician I ever met. And I know, there's lots of great musicians out there. And yet some people just stand out. Last Howard Levy story, I told you he would stop in our music shop and he'd have something on his mind. And one day it was jaw harps, you know, that silver circle, and you twang the little twanger, jaw harp, right? He said, hey man, I've been thinking about getting 12 jaw harps, each one in a different key, and kind of putting them in a circle. And then you'd, like in a frame, and you'd move around. So you could play melodies with 12 different jaw harps. And as he's saying this, he's kind of, you could see, like, he wasn't really looking at me anymore. He's looking off in the distance, so to speak, because his mind was like, he's going there. 12 jaw harps, man. Chromatic jaw harp. And I remember thinking to myself, yeah, this guy's next level. So there you go. There you go. But like I said, I've been fortunate enough to meet a lot of talented people. So we'll get to them once in a while. A to Z Me says, the best musician I ever met was Bruce Coburn. Walking in Montreal and bumped into him. Great guy. And we talked for a while. Very cool. Charlie Beagle, I see your question. And now is as great a time as any for your question. Bear with me for a second here. Okay, Charlie Beagle is asking, does the type of wood used in an electric guitar make any difference in sound? And that's a great question. Yes, it has to, right? It has to. What I feel, based on hearing smart people talk, is it affects the tone of the electric guitar a little bit, and you can decide for yourself if it's a profound enough sound that, you know, you would maybe reject a certain guitar even if you like everything else about the guitar, but you think, oh, I don't want mahogany, or oh, I really, koa is the best tone for me, or whatever. So yeah, so in a perfect world, you could, do an A/B kind of test, same everything, but two different woods, right? And make up your mind. Most of us just don't have that kind of luxury, right? So, but so many smart people have analyzed this that I feel comfortable saying that, yeah, the wood makes a difference in the sound for sure. But we all have to decide for ourselves if it's a profound difference. Plenty of people would say, the electric guitar pickups matter a lot more. Some people would say the tone all comes from your hands anyways. So like when I saw Mark Knopfler in concert, and he put down his Stratocaster, which I thought was his only guitar, and picked up a Les Paul and sounded exactly like Mark Knopfler. I thought, well, there you go. Here's something, Charlie, to think about. The wood used definitely affects the weight of the guitar. And that's a deal breaker for a lot of us. I don't want a 9-pound guitar. I just that's unappealing to me. And I can't imagine circumstances. I can't imagine the rest of the guitar being so amazing that I would say, well, okay, in this case, I'll go with a 9-pound guitar. So the body wood of an electric guitar would be a deal breaker for me and for a lot of us, I imagine, in that situation too. So yeah, my advice though is Google it. I'm sure there's videos out there, certainly podcasts. In fact, some of the podcasts I'm going to talk about tonight may be the types of podcasts that get into details like that. It's a great question. So there's my answer. I'm sure it has some effect. But in terms of the actual tone, for sure, it's only one factor. Your amp is another factor, a little EQ pedal. I've got a little Boss EQ pedal. Well, that has a huge effect on my tone, right? Just a little tiny tweaks. And that has a huge effect, Okay. I'm scrolling a little bit. Omar, I see your question. Charlie Beagle, yeah, I assumed you're talking about a solid body guitar, yeah. Poopa John, I don't know the answer to your question. You're asking a perfectly good question. I don't know the answer. You're asking what's the lowest key, the lowest sound you get on harmonica. I don't know, except for sure the bigger you get, the lower you're going to be. But your typical, 10-hole, your typical 10-hole harmonica, I'm not sure which one of those is the lowest one. Yeah, it's a good question. Charlie Beagle is mentioning Tony Little Son Glover. Yeah, famous harmonica player from Minneapolis originally. Omar is asking, what are your thoughts on reading music, standard notation for guitar? Excellent question. Man, I'm torn. I was taught how to read music as a kid, as a public school kid. But mostly I learned as a kid taking drum lessons and percussion lessons, playing drums, but also playing xylophone and those types of instruments. And I'm really grateful that I know how to read music. But of all the instruments out there, guitar is one of the main instruments that you can learn and have tons of joy and satisfaction with, and never learn how to read music. So I'll tell you how I teach, because that's not just talking the talk, that's walking the walk. Young students, I teach them how to read music as well as tab. Adult students, it's whatever they want, and rarely do they want to read standard notation. I figure young students they've got their whole life in front of them, and including opportunities to play other instruments beyond the guitar. So learning to read standard notation, the investment can really pay off for them in the future. I'll say, for example, I might work with a 7-year-old And then they're 8 years old. Then they're 9 years old. They've been doing lessons for a few years, right? Around here where I live, when you're in about 5th grade, maybe 10 years old, give or take, that's when you can join the school band on trumpet, flute, clarinet, trombone, all that stuff, right? With those instruments, there's no version of tab. You've got to learn how to read regular music. So if I start someone off at 7 years old and we do tab at first, and kids do great with tab, easy peasy, but maybe now they're 8.5, maybe now they're 9. And when I determine the time is right, I get them reading standard notation. Because whether they know it or not, I know 5th grade is coming and they're going to have the opportunity to play these other band instruments, right? So I've paved the way. And when the time is right, we have the conversation. Like, look, in September, you're going to have the chance to play in the band. Well, guess what? You already know how to read music. You have such a big head start. Doesn't mean I don't want you to play the guitar anymore, but you're going to be that cool kid, if you choose, who's playing clarinet in the band, but then guitar as well. You got guitar at home, but you're playing trumpet in the school band, and you have a huge head start because you already know how to read music. So I feel very strongly about younger, kids learning how to read music. Oh yeah, you got to wait till the time is right. I have had, and I do have young kids who are just not ready yet. They're just too young. There's no rush. They're 6, they're 7. They don't have to read music when they're 7, but when the time is right, they kind of graduate. And so what I do is we'll do both. We'll get like a good old Hal Leonard guitar method book 1, the one with the black cover and the guitar on the front. And basically part of the lesson will be learning whatever page we're on in that book. And then part of the lesson will be playing stuff with tab. Yeah. So, and then with adult students, it's so rare that an adult student pushes me to learn standard notation. I'm happy to do it. But you really got to twist my arm and tell me that it's a crucial thing to you, because I know how much an adult student can do without taking the time to learn music. There's so much stuff. You got to have your ears open because you're going to be learning a lot by ear. But that's why we with adult students, that's why we work on stuff that you've heard before, so that you don't need me to spell out the timing because you've heard Sweet Home Alabama your whole life. And you don't need me to show you how Sweet Home Alabama, how it sounds. You just need to know where to put your fingers, how to hold the pick, maybe some information about downstrokes versus upstrokes and so on. So Omar, that's my long answer to your very good question. I do encourage everyone. I do encourage you all to learn how to read music. I also feel strongly that you should not feel guilty if you don't know how to read music. The Beatles didn't know how to read music. Don't worry about it. If you've tried and it wasn't your thing, or if it's just you have 30 minutes to practice and you want to practice for 30 minutes, you don't want to spend that time learning how to read music. I get that. Life is short. In fact, we will be talking about investing, your practice time. We'll be talking about that in a little while because I saw something online that got my attention. I want to share with you. Scott Rhodes saw a YouTube video of someone building a concrete guitar, and it sounded good, huh? Holy cow. I'm just reading through your comments. Harrison, welcome. Poopa John, you're recalling those Alfred music books, Alfred publications. John Robert, I see your question. Yeah, I'll get to your question in a moment, John Robert. Omar says, yeah, we want to be, yeah, that's an excellent point. Just like you want to learn to read your native language, read foreign languages. So why not read music? Yeah. And we all should. And playing guitar for many people that I interact with, playing the guitar is a hobby. And we have so little free time, most of us, especially you retired folks. No one has less free time than retired people. You guys are nuts how you fill up your time. So you have to invest your time in the way that gives you pleasure, because it's a hobby. It's a hobby. If you want music to be how you make your living, then you got to learn how to read music. At least I recommend it highly. And if you're a kid, you got to learn to do it because I said so. Because why not? Because you got the whole rest of your life to use it. So that's how I feel. Harrison says, after a lifetime of not understanding, working on being able to read music is great. I never thought I'd learn. Excellent, excellent. Yeah, I mean, it's just like reading a language, right? Reading whatever your preferred non-native language happens to be, French, Spanish, whatever you don't usually speak. For some of you, English might be your second language, right? So, yep. It's tricky. I realize I'm saying two things, and yet that's my honest answer. And you guys would divide yourselves into categories. Do you want to invest the time to do it? Yeah, Omar, you're making great points. Omar says, why do adult guitar players struggle with this? Reading music when other instruments don't have it. Yeah, it's because well, two reasons. The guitar is such a visual instrument that it's really convenient for teachers, your uncle, anybody, to show you things documented in a very visual way, meaning diagrams and tablature, right? And the second thing is, all those other instruments, they don't have another choice. There's, like I said, there's no alternative way to writing down piano music, saxophone music, and so on. So if they had a choice, then we'd be able to analyze, how many trumpet players choose to read music, how many trumpet players choose to use the alternative to standard notation, trumpet tab or something. And that's why those are the two reasons. Guitar players either intuitively know they don't have to learn how to read standard music, or people like me give them the option of not reading standard music. Also, the guitar is such a public instrument. We are so overwhelmed with guitar players in our world, and guitar players we know personally in our families, our neighborhoods, guitar players on YouTube. Guitar is so the performers are everywhere. Tab is everywhere. It's so easy to get started on the guitar. Notice how I put that. It's easy to get started, and with a little guidance, it's easy to make progress with your physical skills, learn riffs, learn chords, learn songs, that it can feel like a real step back. And it is a step backwards, frankly, to learn how to read music, because all of a sudden, no matter how fast your picking was getting, and no matter how comfortable your fretting hand was getting, once you start learning from standard notation, all of a sudden you're playing Mary Had a Little Lamb. And a moment before you were playing Sweet Home Alabama, maybe you were even playing it well, and now you're playing Yankee Doodle. And that's so humbling, right? It's so humbling. So, yeah, I'm with you. Though. It's an important skill. I couldn't do my job without being able to read music. There you go. Val is asking something called, Val says, what is meltab? I think that I've heard that phrase. Is that a combination of the word melody and tablature? I feel like I've seen that in some form. Maybe there's certain publishers that, copywrote that phrase, meltab. Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to see it, but I think that's where it's some cute kind of combination of information, but I'd have to see it, Val. Val, if there's a particular book that you have or a website that uses it, put that in the chat, okay? One last thing about reading music. I teach a little bit of piano, and from lesson number 1, I use an instructional book, and we stick with that book. You know, I don't get off the beaten track too much on the piano. From the very first lesson, we're reading music, and that's how piano teachers teach, and it's just so interesting for me to just have that experience as a teacher, as an observer, versus the guitar experience. It's presented 2 different ways. I mean, guitar, you can write on anything in tab. Some beginner student can be playing, you know, Iron Man, or you can simplify certain songs, and someone can walk out of their first lesson, second lesson, and they're playing recognizable, fun stuff. And piano just doesn't work that way, not conventional piano lessons. So it's interesting for me as a teacher to have both of those experiences and feel fine about facilitating both of those experiences as well. I love this conversation. We should probably get to our guitar play along song of the night before too long. I'm excited about this one tonight. I want to make sure. Yeah, Blair's making a good point. Let's differentiate between reading music in the sense that you understand that, you know, it says the note C sharp, and it's a C sharp presented as a whole note. So you let the C sharp ring for 4 counts, and you understand what's there. And then being able to essentially what's known as sight reading. Someone puts paper in front of you and you start playing it pretty accurately with no practice, just like if someone put a book or magazine in front of you in your native language, and you start reading it, because that's what you do with books or magazines or whatever, right? And that's the ideal. Not only do you understand what the paper says, but you can do what it's telling you. You can follow the recipe, you can follow instructions right away in real time. And that's definitely a lifelong skill that you get better and better and better at the more you do it. And some people have no choice, right? Like we keep saying, most instruments, that's what they do. They play the song and then they're done. And us guitar players, we wing it quite a bit, right? We wing it. Scott Rhodes says, just because you're playing Yankee Doodle doesn't mean you have to stop playing Sweet Home Alabama. Yeah. And that's great. That's the right attitude. But it's extremely important for me that the student comes to their second lesson and their 22nd lesson. It's important to me for emotional reasons, financial reasons. So that's something that I would have a conversation with a student about. Like, hey, do you want to learn how to read regular music? You know, we can do that. And we can still do Sweet Home Alabama. But if you're going to read regular music, you know, we're going to be playing, you know, simple stuff that might feel a little bit humbling, you know. That's a conversation we have. Okay. Harrison, I'm not great at piano. No, I can do like rock and roll piano. I heard the phrase songwriter piano. I can do songwriter piano. I mean, here's how good I am at the piano. I can do the equivalent of, I'm going to grab like a G chord. I can go. I can do that on the piano, you know, but, you know, not too much fancy stuff. So I will say this, man. Alfred Publishing has a 3-volume series of songs that I've done with adult students. And it's a great series. There's dozens of songs in each book, a nice variety of tunes, even the tunes that were just made up for the book that are, you know, no one's heard of them before. But even those are pretty tasteful, pretty cool songs. And I love those books. And I don't teach too much at that level. But there's a time when I was putting a lot of time on the piano, so I'd be 1 or 2 lessons ahead of the student who was doing great, and they're catching up to me, so I had to rush to get ahead of them. And I found that so satisfying. Val, okay, Val saw the, I know the book you're talking about, Val. That subject called meltab, M-E-L-T-A-B, was in a classic book called The Art of the Folk Blues Guitar by Jerry Silverman, published in 1964. Yeah. Now that you've got it, Val, send me, if you're so inclined, take a photo of it with your phone, and send me a photo of it. You can email me at info@song-bike.com. I think I actually have that book. I think I have it with an LP record. I think it came out as an LP record with a booklet. And I won't take up your guys' time right now, but I have a feeling it's 10 steps right over there with all my LP records. And I think the booklet is right in there with the LP record. Of course, I love stuff like that. Jerry Silverman is I think, a pretty famous guy. I mean, he did a lot of guitar instructional stuff. So, I totally geek out over stuff like that. Early guitar instructional material. I have some pretty obscure stuff. I wouldn't consider his stuff obscure, but boy, do I have some pretty obscure stuff. But it all has some sort of value somewhere. Thunder Ace, that is the G clef. Clef is spelled C-L-E-F, but that little image that you put there, that's known as the G clef. Yep, the G clef. And that is the clef sign that you do see when you're looking at guitar music and other instruments too. Hey, Beginner Guitar Lessons is encouraging everybody to hit the like button. Hey, here's something else you should do. You should get yourself a free book. Don't forget that. Hold on here. I always save this for the end. I don't know why. Don't forget to get yourself a copy of the SongBike Blues Guide. It's free. Head over to www. See it right there? song-bike.com. And right there, you can't miss it. Put your email there, and it shows up right away as a PDF. And there's a video that shows you how to play everything. I love this book so much. I'll leave it at that. But it's free. It's my gift from me to you. Scott, I see your question. How about we'll do this one more question, and then let's get to our guitar play-along song of the night. You don't need a capo, but you're going to need some 7th chords. Let's see, what key are we going to do this in? I think we're going to do it in the key of D. So while I'm answering Scott's question, I highly recommend y'all get your D7, G7, and A7 chords ready to go. D7, G7, and A7. Get those ready to go. And if you know how to play those 7th chords up the neck, or you think you might, brush up on those too. Okay, Scott Rose asks, when you start working with a student on reading, do you start on one string or do you immediately go to multiple strings? Yeah, one string. In fact, especially my youngest student, even if we're doing tab, we start on one string. But definitely teaching a student how to read proper music notation, yeah, one string at a time. And I really do use that Hal Leonard Guitar Method Book 1. I don't have, again, it's like 14 steps that way. But that book starts you off on your skinny E string, and you learn E, open E, you learn F at the 1st fret, and G at the 3rd fret. And that's page 1 right there. And later on, it gets the notes. Well, it shows you 3 notes on the B string, the open B string, C at the 1st fret, D at the 3rd fret, and then there's songs that use those notes and so on. For what it is, it's a pretty good book, the Hal Leonard Guitar Method Book 1, because there's no sexy version of a book like that. It is what it is, so it's pretty good. I'll take it, and I've sold it to students, and encouraged them to get their own copy of it. It's fine. I don't have a better one for reading notes, but because it's not, it's not a ball of fire. That's why with my teaching, I supplement that book with a ton of other stuff. Famous songs, riffs, scales, arpeggios. I mean, just millions of other things that I communicate with tab or chord diagrams. I do believe strongly in being bilingual, meaning, you got to be able to read tab, right? And you got to be comfortable with chord diagrams. Like I'm sure most of you all, I bet you all are. So that is important. I never underestimate how important tab is. By the way, here's some factual information. Tablature, the lines that go across that equal the strings, right? Lines equal strings, the numbers that equal the frets. That came first. Tablature is ancient. Tablature goes way, way back in human civilization. So those of you, many of you who work with tab, just know you are old school. Tab is the OG method of documenting, instrument for music for fretted stringed instruments. So no shame in using tab. That's old school. So yeah, Scott, one string at a time. Especially with little kids, you got to do one string at a time. And like I said, I have so few adults who really truly want to learn how to read music. But no matter who I'm working with, I work with that Hal Leonard book, and that's how they do it, one string at a time. And yeah, it works. It works. So there we go. Okay. A to Z Me says, are we doing a playing along today? A play along? Yes, we are. Okay. Let's see. What I need is my black Sharpie. How could I not have my black Sharpie? I'm going to go grab my black Sharpie, and I'll be back. Play along song of the night. Got a blues for you, and it's a special blues because it's an 8-bar blues. You might never have played an 8-bar blues. Oh, I'll tell you the name in a minute. This is, as far as I know, the most famous 8-bar blues. Do you know what it's going to be? There aren't many of them. Certainly not many that are famous. Put it in the chat if you know the name of tonight's 8-bar blues guitar play along. A famous blues tune that has been covered by many, many, many artists. And I'll be right back with my big black Sharpie. Talk amongst yourselves. Okay, I found it. I'm back. I'm so excited. Music fan says he's gone. Now we can talk about him. I'm so excited, ladies and gentlemen. I knew I had it. Okay, take a look at that. The art of the folk blues guitar. A real nerd would own the record, but a super nerd would be excited that he found it relatively quickly for his live stream audience. And there's the booklet. Oh, I can't believe it. The Art of the Folk Blues Guitar and Instruction Record by Jerry Silverman, based on the book, The Art of the Blues Guitar from Oak Publications. This is on the famous Folkway Records, featuring the styles of Josh White, Leadbelly, Big Bill Brunsey, Woody Guthrie, Cisco Houston, and Pete Seeger. And there's, well, this is the booklet that comes with it. I'm guessing, yeah, Val. So do you have this, is your book like this, or is it actually like, does it look more like a real book? I'm curious. Meltab. Yeah, so meltab is just tablature. Interestingly, Jerry Silverman is instead of every line representing a string, he uses the space between the lines to represent a string. So I'll say this, it makes it easier to read the numbers. I'm going to hold this up to the camera, but if you cannot see this, you're not missing too much. Okay, I'll just take the very first thing, Frankie and Johnny. You guys might not be able to see this, but meltab. I don't know why I called it that, but meltab. So can you see that? There you go, right over there. And see how the numbers are nice and easy to read? Because instead of having the line cutting through the numbers are in spaces. So there's 6 spaces, and each space represents a guitar string. And then, it's a great idea that just didn't catch on. There you go. Stefan Grossman is another author, and his books, everyone that I've seen, is a everyone that I've seen of Stefan Grossman's stuff uses the spaces to represent the strings rather than lines. Okay, and that is about as geeky as this guitar teacher gets. Very fun. So this record is copywritten 1963. On the back of the record, and then I'll move on. The Jerry Silverman says his first book was called Folk Blues from 1958. Oh, you want to get me something for Christmas? See if you can track down that book from the Macmillan publisher, 1958, and then put out in paperback by Oak Publications in 1964. So Val, any idea if yours is actually from 1964? How cool would that be? Very cool. Okay, you guys know I'm a big fan of used bookstores, and that's the kind of thing that I would faint if I saw a book like that at a used bookstore. Okay, so anybody? 12-bar blues? Actually, an 8-bar blues? No one. All right. Randy, thank you for your super chat. I appreciate that. Super chats, you guys, are a way that you can celebrate what we do here on Saturdays. Support the cause. It's that little $sign down at the bottom. Okay. Key to the highway. Key to the highway. We're going to do it in the key of D. D is in Delta. By the way, thanks to Frontier Communications and their low price on fast internet, we are back in our Main Street location. I don't know if you guys remember way back when at our Elm Street location, when if I took away the white paper, I guess it's doing a little bit. The camera does this autocorrect thing, but this is a different camera. It's good to be back home though. Okay, Key to the Highway, an 8-bar blues. Key 2. This song has been covered by lots and lots of people. Big Bill Brunzi, we heard his name a minute ago. Little Walter, Eric Clapton with Cream, Eric Clapton with B.B. King. Nobody seems to do it in D. I got to do it in D. But I do it because I care. If I did it in another key, it would introduce some kind of funky chords. I don't know. It just worked out sort of a compromise key. 8 measures. That means this is a very short form. Before you know it, you've come to the end of the form, and it's time to go back again. Okay. You got your D7, right? You got that ready to go. You got your G7. You got your A7. Just those 3. That'll do it. Okay. 8, Sorry, 4 counts in each one. Okay. So key to the highway. 8 measures. Every one of those boxes is a measure, right? 1 measure of D7, 1 measure in A7. Right away, that's different than how blues usually goes. That's great. That's why we're doing this. Not every blues song is a 12-bar blues. Not every 12-bar blues is exactly the same, but for sure, this is in its own unique category. And it's a great tune. It's a classic tune. So Key to the Highway, usually I try to match you guys up with a certain version of the song that's in the same key. In this case, you're going to be, you're going to be stuck with me and doing it in the key of D. But that's okay. That's going to be okay. So let me see. First of all, let me give you some options. And the options are going to go like this. Strumming each one of those chords as quarter notes. Easy peasy, right? Doesn't get any easier than that. That's okay. So we got D7 and then A7. Just nice steady downstrokes. Okay, no big deal. We are inclusive here, and we're including people who may be pushing their limits. Great. We're going to take it slow, nice, simple downstrokes. Grab your pick to be nice and clear. If you don't have a pick handy, you could use your thumb, but I definitely recommend using the pick. Okay. Now, for those of you who got that, you ready for something else? Lots of possibilities. For the D, where it says D7, you could do the D shuffle instead. Where it says A7, you can do the A shuffle. Now we're kind of stuck because the G7, the G shuffle, if we wanted to substitute the G shuffle instead, it could be a little bit tricky. But at a minimum, you could do a G power chord, 3 on the 6th string, 5 on the 5th string. I mean, that works, In a perfect world, you'd mimic the sound of the other shuffles by having your pinky stretch way up to 7. I know that's not going to happen for all of you. I get it. Don't worry. You could compromise and just do the G power chord, anywhere where it says G7. Okay. But, hey, it's possible with practice that you can get your pinky to extend out. What we're talking about is tendons and ligaments that are being encouraged to stretch further, for sure. If you want to have even a ghost of a chance to do this, your thumb has to be pointing up towards the ceiling. I'm trying to get a good angle. My thumb is pointing straight up towards the ceiling, and that's the only way I could have a chance of doing that. Again, you don't have to do that. Don't stress out about it. What I just did, though, was show you how this information can be reinterpreted. Instead of a D7 chord, we did the D shuffle, which I'll tell you more about the D shuffle in a minute. Instead of the A7 chord, we did the A shuffle. Instead of the G7, we did the G power chord. So it's going to sound great, Those are perfectly adequate possibilities, options. Okay, so let's talk about the D shuffle and the A shuffle real quick. I want to get into playing this as quickly as possible. While I'm writing this down, I'm going to verbally tell you the D shuffle, open D string, and the the G string 2nd fret. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, here's the D shuffle. Easy peasy. Okay, see that? Open D string and the G string at the same time. The D string stays open. What happens when the G string changes? I recommend putting your index on the 2nd fret and your ring or pinky on the 4th fret. Chunka, 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 chunka. Okay, so what I just wrote there exactly fills up that amount of space. Okay, and then the A shuffle, same exact concept, but moved over 2 strings. Or 1 string. Here's the A shuffle. Okay, open A string, right? Open A string, and you're going to be fretting the 4th string, the D string, 2, 2, 4, 4. Could you get how the names of these shuffles are named after whatever string is the open string? A shuffle, open A string, D shuffle, open D string. How about that G power chord? G power chord. Boom, 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 boom. Five, 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 five. Okay, check this out. 3 on the 6th string, 5 on the 5th string. That's a G power chord. You could just do that 8 times. Chunka, chunka, chunka. That note, that's what my pinky was doing. My pinky was reaching up and playing those 7s. You do not have to do this, but it would sound really cool. It's definitely easier on electric guitar. Some of you might already be able to do this, but it's okay if that's just not going to happen tonight. Or just stay right there 8 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. No shame there. No shame at all. Okay. What I just wrote there, even if you substitute 5s instead of the 7s, that's okay. Again, that takes up 1 measure, 1 box. It happens that the G happens 2 times in a row, so it would be 2 of those. You with me? All right. And I fully expect some of you to come back to see this stuff in the future. I don't expect you to memorize all this stuff right this second. That's okay. Just to be clear. And one last thing 2 last things, and then we'll get down to business. And we'll play the tune. For those of you who want to play alternatives to the D7, G7, and A7, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. How about 2, 3, 4, 5, 6? So, come back to this tomorrow, whenever the time is right, and you can do some review of this stuff. How about this version of the D7? And this version of the G7, 6, 7, check, 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 check. And how about we'll crank up the A7 nice and high, like the 2 frets higher than the G7. I know I'm kind of muttering to myself here. I know. Okay. Especially if you feel very confident about those first chords I presented. D7 with a little bar at the 7th fret. You're going to squeeze 4 strings on the 7th fret, the 4 treble strings, but I like my ring finger. 8th fret on the skinny 1st string. There's a D7 chord. And the G7 and the A7 are so close by. Both the G7 and the A7 that we're going to use in this example are related to the D7, the original D7 down here, same formation at 7-6-7 for a G7, and 2 frets higher, 9-8-9 for the A7. Okay, so those of you who are too cool to strum the old-fashioned chords, strum those instead. In fact, you can arpeggiate them like I just did there. So I go, while, you know, the rest of us play the old-fashioned chords or the shuffle patterns. It sounds great, you know? Okay, one last thing. How about soloing on top of this tune? Now, this is going to be kind of significant. You think, oh, blues scale, right? It's a blues song. Just, you might even have to be one step ahead of me, think, I'm going to do the D blues scale because this is a blues in the key of D. But the nature of this tune, it has a real major kind of feel, a major sound to the melody. So you're not necessarily limited to just the traditional blues scale. Good news, though, what we're about to do is, it's so close to being a blues scale. You're going to love it. Okay. Okay. This is not pretty, but I think you're going to dig it. Okay, because the melody of this tune has a major kind of sound, we're actually going to employ the D major pentatonic, but we're going to throw in a nice bluesy note on top. Okay, I'm actually going to start you on D minor pentatonic to kind of prove a point. 10 on the 6th string, that's the note D. If you want to do just purely a D minor pentatonic, you could get away with that, right? 10, 12 on the 6th string. Sorry, scratch that. 10, 13, 10, 12, 10, 12, 10, 12, 10, 13, 10, 13. That would sound okay. It's a classic minor kind of sound, the D minor pentatonic. Because this melody has a major vibe, I'm going to encourage you to do what you might already know about when you want to take a D minor pentatonic and turn it into a D major pentatonic. Take the whole pattern back 3 frets, 7, 10. Notice that 10, that's the D. That's our reference point. That's our main note. That's our headquarters. That's our tonal center. So it still is there. It just happens to come after the 7, the B. 7, 10, and then 7, 9, 7, 9, 7, 9, 7, 10, 7, 10. Okay, the pattern that I nicknamed the headquarters pattern. Okay, so now I'm actually producing a D major pentatonic, and there it is, but I'm going to include that flatted 3rd note right there. It's that 8, and it's that number 10. So even though I'm playing D major pentatonic, I'm getting basically a major sound by throwing in that note. Happens to be the note F, F natural, F as in Frank. It's a, I hate to say compromise, because compromise makes it sound like the winners and losers. It's a beautiful extra ingredient. I mean, it's a nice bluesy sound, even though everything else is a major sound. Long story short, don't take my word for it. Improvise with that scale while we're doing the song, you know? Okay, now I realize I just threw a ton of information at you guys. I do not expect everybody to retain everything I just said, but that's why we're recording this, and that's why you can come back and watch. Okay, I think I got all my paperwork out of the way. Got that out of the way. All right, let's do this. Key to the highway in the key of D. All right. How are we doing? I'm going to go back to this piece of paper. That's our form, right? That's our structure right there. No matter what, that's what we need. Okay. I think I'm good if you're good. How about if we go through the form one time and then the words will come in? You got it? All right. I'll see you on the other side. 2, 3, 4. I got the key to the highway. Oh, I'm building bound to go. I'm gonna leave here running. Walking's most too slow. I'm going back to the border. Whoa, where I'm better known. Well, I haven't done nothing. Drive a good man from his home. Or when the moon peeks over the mountain, whoa, I'll be on my way. I'm gonna roam this old highway until the break of day. All right, somebody play a solo. Here it comes. Take it away. Oh, just give me one more kiss, mama. Oh, one more kiss before I go. Because when I leave this time, I won't be back no more. Won't you run here, sweet mama? Oh, help me with this heavy load. Well, now I'm due in West Texas. I gotta get on that road. Okay, one more solo. Here we go. All right, I hope there was some good soloing happening in there. Hope you had fun. That's all that matters. Did you have fun? I had fun. Key to the Highway, the most famous 8-measure blues that I know of, 8-bar blues. If you were paying close attention, you could see that I almost fell into a 12-bar habit. I wanted very much to go back to the D7 right there, and that's not how the song works. I think I caught myself. A to Z me. Yeah, man, you got it. A to Z me says, can you take C7, move it up 2 frets? Yes. And I thought about including that as one of the options, but you did it for me. So yeah, C7 up 2 frets, but cuidado, my friends. Make sure you do not hit the open E 6th string or the open E 1st string if you're doing D7. That way. Yeah. All right. So we got plenty of time for your questions, but now is the time to ask a question. I see a couple in there. Now is not the time to be shy. And Deborah, I see yours. Hey, thank you for the super chats, you guys. I see Harrison and Rock Lobster. I appreciate that, you guys. Thank you so much. Don't be shy, you folks. If you feel the urge to support what we're doing here today, there's multiple ways you can do that, including the super chat option. Don't forget, you can get yourself something. Head over to song-bike.com and avail yourselves of the learning materials there, or just get yourself something from Sweetwater. And the Sweetwater affiliate link is in the description to this video, but now it's also coming your way in the chat. And when you buy yourself something from Sweetwater using that affiliate link, they make a contribution to support what we do. Okay. The first question that's jumping out at me is, hold on. Rock Lobster made a good point. Doing a little mini class on how to read tab. Yeah, that's a great idea. It's a great idea. Okay. Deborah, I see your question. Spooky bed hair. You have found 6 guitars around the house. That's a beautiful thing. You're cleaning up your house and you found 6 guitars. Oh, yeah, beautiful. They all need fresh strings and a cleanup. Yeah, yeah. But yeah, there you go. Good luck moving, man. I know moving is one of the hardest things that I've ever done. That's for sure. So Deborah, let me see your question here. Deborah says, when is it necessary to use a capo? Do we use a capo when changing keys for singers? Yeah, that's the absolute best reason to use a capo, is to make a singer's life easier, and maybe you are the singer. So there you go. Another super important reason to use a capo is because the original recording has a capo on there, and you want to sound like the original recording. And the example I always love to give, since you brought it up, is good old Here Comes the Sun. George Harrison has the capo way up high at the 7th fret. It's a glorious sound. I mean, I love that song so much. You can learn it without a capo, for sure. But there's something so satisfying about recreating the sound we've heard since when? 1969, Abbey Road, right? Yeah, capo is a beautiful thing. I just saw a photo. I think I took a screenshot of it because I want to remember to just mention to you guys. The famous blues player, Albert Collins, famous for lots of reasons, highly regarded for lots of reasons, but as a teacher, one reason he stands out in my mind is he used a capo constantly. And I swear I have a screenshot of Albert Collins playing his Telecaster with the capo up at the 12th fret, which is crazy, you know, but you know what? It's a free country. Why not capo at the 12th fret? But it is a remarkable thing. Oh, by the way, for the record, United Breaks Guitars, Dave Carroll, Carroll. Dave Carroll was the guitar player who's got his Taylor guitar broken by United Airlines. And according to the internet, United Airlines stock went down 10%, about $180 million in response to his song. You know, did it bounce back? I'm sure it bounced back eventually, but so I don't know if I have that screenshot handy. Oh no, there it is. There it is. Can I show you this? The capo way up 7, 9, 10, 11. It's either, I think it is the 12th fret. I know you might not be able to see this, but there's Albert Collins with the capo up so high. That's crazy, right? Crazy. Capos are beautiful things. Someday I'll show you a screenshot I took, or photo I took, of a beautiful musical instrument from a long time ago with, I don't want to call it a homemade capo, but a capo that was devised, you know, in presumably from an era when people didn't have the same manufacturing capabilities as we do now, but they still needed capos, and it's a beautiful capo. Someday I'll show you that photo. Okay. Randy Downing says, B.B. King and Jeff Beck have a great version of Key to the Highway. Yeah, and B.B. King did one with Eric Clapton. Charlie Beagle likes Sonny Terry and Brownie McGee's version, and everyone does it in different keys, I found, which is great. And it's just one of those songs where there's only 3 chords, and why not do it in different keys? And to my knowledge, there's not one definitive version, although it seems to me like Big Bill Broonzy's is the earliest one that I've come across without, digging too deep into American music history. It seems like Bill Broonzy is, the earliest version that pops up when you do a search online. Big Bill Broonzy. Okay, now I know we're getting close to wrapping up, you guys. Randy and Scott are talking about the Discord option, and I'm going to put that link in here as well. We have a Discord server set up, and I put in the Discord link in the chat right now so that you guys can talk about stuff outside of the live stream. So I just put that link in the chat, and it's also in the description of this video. And somebody mentioned having sub servers, so people can talk about different topics. And I haven't done that yet, but that's a great idea, so that you can choose what you want to chat about, whether it's, guitars, guitar music, guitar players, you name it. Okay, now I am running low on time, and I feel, one of my favorite things, you guys, is this whole thing about awesome guitar players that I found online that I want to share with you. And so can we just get right into that? Hey, Zoologia Zombie, thank you for your super chat. I appreciate that. So like I said, many of the people that I'm going to share with you right now, and all these links are already in the description, are people that I think are really well known. And so I'm expecting you guys to be like, yeah, I've heard of them. But you know what? They're so good. I don't want to take anything for granted. So how about 2 famous people to start off? And they both are on tour. You can see them, Billy Strings and Molly Tuttle. In the chat, I put their names. And, these folks are so prolific and talented. It's hard to pick one YouTube video that sums up everything about them. So I just pick ones that I personally like. They tend to be videos that are super popular. A lot of these people that I'm talking about tonight they have multiple videos, dozens and dozens, but they might have one that has like 1 million views and others that have 1,500 views. So I tend to choose the most popular videos because why not? But yeah, Billy Strings on tour this summer, Molly Tuttle on tour this summer, as A to Z Me can confirm. They're both terrific bluegrass guitar players, and they're young folks, and they're just super talented. So I want to get their names out there just in case a few of you have not heard of them. Okay, how about some blues? I got an electric blues and an acoustic blues for you guys. And okay, Catfish Ingram. His actual first name is Chris Tone. Chris Tone, Catfish Ingram, also on tour this summer, and Jontavius Willis, also on tour, and just terrific guitar players. Like I said, one electric, one acoustic. I have no doubt they can each play the other guitar. But those are 2 folks. Now, Catfish, someone hipped me to Catfish a few years ago. I mean, he's been around. I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of you know about him. But Jontavius Willis, don't know. So there's a 2 for you. And how about, do you remember when I was talking about Howard Levy a little while ago? The video I shared with Kingfish. Did I say Catfish? I'm so sorry. Omar, you're correct. I'm so sorry. In fact, I'm going to repost that. It is not Catfish Ingram. I'm so sorry. Kingfish Ingram. Yeah, because his Instagram handle is Call me Kingfish. I'm so sorry. You are 100% right. Kingfish Ingram. Thank you for the correction. You guys, when I misspeak, do not be shy about correcting me, because information is important and nothing is more important than getting names right. Kingfish Ingram. So sorry. Okay, fixed. Harrison says that Discord invite has expired. Okay. Can someone hip him on how to head over to Discord and join up? I think you just go over to Discord and search for the phrase SongBike, SONGBIKE. But can someone help Harrison out with how to join the chat over at Discord, DISCORD, Discord. Okay, so Cory Wong, CORYWONG. Cory Wong, super talented guitar player, also on tour. I believe his band is called Wolfpack. I have no idea if I'm saying that right or not. V as in Victor, ULF as in Frank, PECK, K as in knowledge. Definitely super hip, super popular guitar player. I believe the video I shared from Cory Wong is his band playing at Madison Square Garden. That's a pretty good credential to have on your resume. The Howard Levy connection is when I was looking for a Howard Levy video to share with you guys. He's backstage with Cory Wong and Cory Wong's band, and he's giving them a demonstration on this whole harmonica thing, getting all 12 notes out of a harmonica, essentially playing a diatonic harmonica as a chromatic instrument. And it happens to be backstage at a Cory Wong concert. And it's so fun for me to see, for all of us, to see musicians talking with other musicians and kind of turning them on to something. And just very, very cool. Okay, last one. Now this young woman, there's two. Okay, two more. Now, one of you all turned me on to Jocelyn Gould, and so I'm just sort of returning the favor. Jocelyn Gould kicked my butt. All these guitar players kick my butt. It's so tricky. Just when I finish watching one of these YouTube videos and deciding, okay, I'm going to share it with you guys, I just feel like, oh, man. And then I go on to another one, and I watch their video, and they're all so different from each other. So my takeaway is not like, whoa, they're all better than me. My takeaway is, you know what? There's room for everybody. Like, look at all these people doing their thing, and they're so different from one another, and they're all so talented. So my takeaway is there's room for all of us. So Jocelyn Gould, jazz guitarist from Canada, I believe, also on tour this summer. So check out Jocelyn Gould. Okay, last one. Now, this young woman, I don't have a feeling she's not on tour. I have a feeling she is doing her own thing, but so cool. Okay, now I know I'm going to mispronounce her name. Raisa Rimare Guantio. And on social media, she's available at Rimare, RIMARAAY, Rimare, at Rimare. Check out her video. I believe the one I chose is her playing and singing. What tune was it? Was it a Stevie Wonder tune? Oh my God, great guitar playing, great voice. She's so good. So tell her I sent you if you chat with her. All right, so look at all that talent. Holy cow, we got Billy Strings, Molly Tuttle, Kingfish Ingram, John Tavius Willis, Cory Wong, Jocelyn Gould, and Raisa Rimare Guantio. Oh my God. So you guys, I would, let me throw this out there. We are living in a golden age, my friends. There are so many super talented people that are available to entertain us, to teach us, to inspire us. It's never been easier to access super talented people making super good music. So, hey, convince me I'm wrong. But oh man, this stuff there's so much of it. I mean, let me tell you, I have no problem coming up with 5 or 6 or 8 examples of super talented people that I personally would love to sit and take a week's worth of lessons from and just watch what they do up close. So many talented people out there. So I'm sticking with that, man. We are living in a good time if you are pursuing a musical instrument, for sure. So there you go. That's my little sermon for the day. Willie Snyder, thanks for being here, Willie. I know you got to run. And you know what? It's about that time. Okay, so there are things we didn't even get to, but we got to a lot of stuff. And there we go. We didn't get to that weird guitar alternative. I'm going to share that with you last time. We didn't get to deciphering ultimateguitar.com, but we'll get to that next time. Tom T. Hall. Oh, so much good stuff. Want to wish you guys happy Father's Day. I hope those amongst you who are fathers, I hope you have a good day tomorrow. Those of you who are lucky enough to spend time with your father tomorrow, I hope you have a good time spending time with your father or the father in your life. I hope tomorrow's a great day for everybody. Okay, I think that's going to do it. I think that's a wrap on live stream number 52. I really appreciate you guys being here. I appreciate you guys making the super chat donations. I think that's going to do it. Head over to SongBike, get yourself that free blues guide. Don't forget to follow me on social media. On Instagram, I am songbike.guitarlessons. On Facebook, I am my SongBike. Ooh, I'm on TikTok. I think on TikTok, just do a search for the phrase SongBike. You'll find me on TikTok. I've been posting some fun stuff on TikTok as well. Lots of the stuff I'm talking about, there's links in the description to this video already posted there. And don't forget, I'm going to be timestamping everything we just talked about. So you can come back and zip right to the part that you want to review, okay? Very fun for me to timestamp this stuff and get it all organized. I like to get everything in a row. All right. Thanks again to Fox and Park Soda for their grape flavor. And that's it. My weekend begins now. All right, guys. Thanks again for being here. I will see you next Saturday for number 53. Have a great time this week. I hope you have a great week. I hope you get a chance to play the guitar. Hope you play some blues like Key to the Highway. And I'll see you next time. Thanks for being here, everybody.